All right, this is lesson 4 of the Zero to Hero Power App saga. Today we have Muscle Man Chris Huntingford is concluding a series um, on designing apps using a data first approach. He has a cooler name to it. I'm very simplistic, so he will introduce his own class. Again, thanks Chris, thanks everybody who's here. So far, I personally have learned lots from Chris from the last session. Considerations to take when you're designing your app. It's been fun. Okay, last week we talked about homework. I'll speak more about it towards the end of the class today, and we'll go from there. Chris, floor is yours.
Thanks, man. Thank you very much for having me. And hello, everyone. I hope you're all good. I know I'm not sharing a screen yet, and I promise I will. Yeah. So I sent Victor the incorrect Excel document, like a legend. So I've left a link in the chat. You are more than welcome to build with me on this one. So I'm going to do very few slides and lots of creating things and breaking things this session. Okay. Now, I haven't done this in a long time live. I started doing this ages ago in an Irish, one of the Dublin summits, and yeah, stuff broke, so stuff might break again, but we'll roll with it. Anyway, if you all can see the screen, just give me a thumbs up, okay? And kind of treat this like a little mini hack, okay? And the way that I like to do it is the link in the chat, you'll land up somewhere here. Okay, so if somebody wouldn't mind just testing that out and seeing if they can go and grab those. But yeah, that's effectively the data that you're going to need. Now, I did say, Pranav, I mean, sorry, Gulshan, you got your hand up? No. Okay. Cool. Right. So if you'll want the link, just try it. Please let me know if you can't get to it, or if somebody could confirm in the chat that you can get to it. Yeah, Victor can get to it. Cool.
That's good. Thanks, Chris.
Sweet. Okay, I'm going to walk you through what this is shortly, right? But as I said, I'm not going to do hordes of slides today. I need the time to destroy things. So yakety yak, that's me. If you want to follow, you know what to do. But yeah, I'm Chris. I'm a low-code Power Platform evangelist at ANS, and I have a picture of a badger, which is the most important thing, right? Anyway, so getting through that, we're going to take a bit of time just to run through some things, okay? And then we're going to build some stuff. Now, this is going to get a little bit intense, and I'm sorry. Some of you may be new to tools like Dataverse, and some of you may not. If you are not new, yeah, you'll probably know a fair amount of this stuff, but I'm going to give you a different take on design. If you are new, you might want to bear with. There are some things that are slightly interesting, like building out relationships. Okay, so we'll get to that as we go. Anyway, just a quick one. We decided that we were going to build what we call an ESG solution, environment, social, and governance solution. And what that is, right, is all over the world, there are people managing causes. So, managing things like climate control and that type of stuff. And what happens is people like us on the call, we might register to be part of that cause. And a lot of companies are KPI'd on being part of those causes. Don't know if you guys knew that. But lots of companies like Avanade, they're a big old company. They actually have environment, social, and governance programs that they run. At ANS, we do the same. So Gabby and I know fairly well, like we have things we can get involved in. And that's pretty exciting, right? Now, again, a lot of that data has to be taken care of. And the data that we're typically using is normally quite personal data. Okay, you're managing time, you're managing personal information. So you need to be careful of the data storage facility that you use. So not everything should live in a SharePoint list. And the other thing we spoke about is respecting your data. So it's like living in a house, right? If you have like 30 people living in a small house, you probably won't have hot water for very long. The electricity bill will be very high. But as you move up the scale, you can kind of start adding more and more people and using more and more facilities. And that's what data storage facilities do. Okay. A couple of other things I spoke to you about. There are ways to check the type of data you're looking at and the way to determine the data source. So ask these questions, right? I've not once spoken about licensing in this part of the scenario. Remember, we're just caring about data. Licensing comes in later. But typically, in this scenario, we're looking at fairly personal data that needs to be stored locally. There's over 2,000 records. Well, sadly, in the list, I've only given you 1,002 to be precise. And yeah, there's some relational bits as well. We have to think about the data and think about the fact that the information we're given, we have to kind of keep track of. Now, I'm just gonna pop this Excel document open and show it to you. So the data I incorrectly sent you the first time, was missing some things and had some incorrect date formats. But if you think about what's going on here, and you take a look at this data, you can actually see some pretty interesting things, right? You can see that there is personal information, there's a name and a surname, there's an email address, there is a city, a country, a category, a cause that somebody wants to be part of, a description of that cause, and an interest type. Now, I'm going to show you very quickly how I figured out how to do this. Now, first things first, just remember the data that I'm showing you. I realize it's a boring Excel document. That's why I've given you the link. So if you want to, you're more than welcome to download and just kind of take a look at it yourself. But if I have a look at the data, okay, remember there's personal information. There's a bunch of stuff in here that's really important. So I can't just go and chuck this wherever I want. And in fact, storing it in Excel is probably not the best idea either, okay? So again, we've got multiple people. There's multiple causes per person. So a person can have more than one cause. As an example, I might be supporting global warming, not supporting global warming, supporting fighting against global warming and other things like diversity and inclusion. So one of the things I believe is that technology should be diverse and we should have room for everyone. And actually, that's part of environment social governance. It's a really key thing, okay? So at the moment, that's my data decision. And I figured, well, because the data is pretty important, I need to have relational data. Tools like SharePoint don't have a lot of referential integrity. They don't have the right layers of security for me. I decided to go with the best data source in the entire world that is arguably the most amazing ever, Dataverse. Cool. So you're probably all thinking, dude, okay, that's cool. I don't agree. I want to put it in SharePoint. You could, but you would then lose the integrity of the security and the relational, the matter of the relational records. You could do this type of relational stuff to an extent, but yeah, it's far more robust than Dataverse. And again, I need to be able to prove that these people are doing the work so that I can get my social governance grants. So it's pretty important that I can audit this data. All right. So remember, weird little Excel documents, we're going to transform that into an actual SharePoint set. Wow, Chris, bad Chris. Dataverse set of tables, right? Now we start with data modeling. And as I said to you before, we model from data up to the top. So we're modeling from the data all the way up until the actual solutions themselves, right? Very important. Like I said, some people model UX down. I don't. I do data up because I always want to answer the data question first. And again, very importantly, that's Power Platform on a red background. Literally for no other reason than that, right? I think Victor got the best slides ever. So, right, what are we going to do? We're going to start with the data layer, okay? So I'm going to take you through some stuff. Now, this is going to seem a little random in the beginning, but please bear with me, okay? I figured out that these are the tables I need, okay? So these are the separate tables I need for my data source. Now, this is pretty important. Oh, yes, of course, I'll put the link of the data. I'll just re-add it. I know that you're new, so there we go. Just give me a thumbs up if you can get to that link, okay? So this is the set of tables I decided on. You're probably thinking, Chris, how the hell did you get to that many tables? I'm going to show you. Okay, I've got a technique that I use. So I'm looking at the data right now. Luckily, I've been doing this for a fair amount of time, and I kind of got my own pattern, and I know what I'm looking for. So if I start thinking about a personal record, so I'm going to start with my contact because the contact's always like the key person or the key thing, okay? If you were doing asset management, you would be modeling it around an asset, like this weird little creature over here. Or if you were doing it around a business, you would use your business as your central record. So right now, we know some things. We know that full name, email address, city, and country are all about a personal. That's like a person record, right? So the way I do it is I highlight it in a different color. That's one record, that's one table. Then if I go down and look at category, I can see that category is a repeated record. So, okay, category is repeated, that's fine. And I can see cause is also repeated and so is description. But it seems like cause and category are quite similar. Now I'm going to show you a very cool trick when you're doing data modeling, okay? And this is the after effect. I'm going to show you something quite cool. If you ever get stuck with Excel, okay, and you want to try and figure out how to do data modeling, use Power BI. It is one of the first tools that will tell you what's repeatable and what's not. Now it's deciding to open a whole other mission. It's fine. I'll just do it in this one. Okay. So I use Power BI and it actually works. If I go to if I open up an Excel workbook, Oh, it's decided to open a new one. Thanks, Power BI, for being slow. I'll just do it on the other one. Oh, seriously. Sorry, folks. So what I'll do is I'll go into my my 0 to Hero folder, which I can't find, which is amazing. There we go. 0 to Hero. Pop that bad boy in there, and all files. I don't think it'll work on a CSV. If it doesn't, it's all good. Okay, there's my records. Load, just blindly load the data in. Just give it a crack, right? You're not going to waste any time doing this. First things first, everyone loves a pie chart. All you literally do, pop a pie chart in there. When it eventually loads, it's not, oh, there it is. Pop in a pie chart. These are all the fields in my Excel documents. Title seems like one that would be something I could count. And then I'm going to take interest type. Okay, so look at that. I've immediately started to see a repetitive interest type. If I do go through the same process again, and I go title seems unique, I'm going to go ahead and put in country, same thing. Okay, so you can start figuring out what data is what using Power BI. I'll give you another example. If I go ahead and chuck in channel and remove country, you can see that that's repeated as well. So the data I'm looking for, some data should be repeated and others shouldn't. Like channel, I'm only ever going to have a certain number of channels, whereas interest type, it may be variant. Okay, and this is where you need to talk to your customer. So what I can tell is I can tell category is probably going to be a separate table because I can see that these causes and descriptions rely on category. So I'm going to go ahead and put that as orange. Cause and descriptions seem to be related. There you go. You can see that straight off the bat. So I'm going to go, ahead and make that purple. I'm going to go and make the text white. I can see interest type is repeated. Okay. And this also means that interest type seems to be related to the full interest record. So somebody showing interest in participating in ESG. So I'm going to go and make that yellow. I can see the channel is also associated, but that's a lookup. And then time of contribution and date contribution. These seem to be linked as well. Okay. So with a little bit of research, and by the way, I am paraphrasing, with a little bit of research, you can kind of figure it out, right? So I can tell that I've got probably a record. I've got a set of, I've got a table for time management. I've got base tables for interest type and category. I've also got a cause table and a contact table. So that's how I figure out data modeling in a flat Excel document. What I then do is I'll shoot back out and I'll list them. So I've got my contact record. So we can all agree that's one record, right? Contact. I've then got cause and category and interest types. And I can kind of see that for every cause I have, I may have multiple categories. I may have one category. So each cause has a category and each interest has an interest type. Okay. So I'm just showing you Excel, very basic Excel stuff. And I can see that the interest record is a combination of all these things. Pretty straightforward. So that's kind of how I do it. I use colors in the document to figure out what I'm doing, and then I'll note them down in the beginning of what we call an entity relationship diagram. I'll tell you what, I do this for every single thing I do. It doesn't matter if I'm making a couple of SharePoint tables or if I'm making a big old Dataverse solution. I build ERDs for everything, every single thing I make, because it keeps me honest. And also, I'm going to show you a really fun technique that will show you even the order in which to import data. Okay. By the way, the records in that folder, if you follow the process, should import without any errors. Okay. Cool. So I've got all these tables. So what do? I go, okay, well, next thing I've got to do is try and figure out how they link together. And I can kind of see in the data and also using Power BI that category is a kind of sub record of cause and description. So what I do is I start data modeling. Okay. So I'm like, cause is linked to category, and one category can have many causes. Okay. So that sounds good. So the category of, let's pick the category of Ukraine support. That seems like it can have multiple causes. Sorry, the category of governance can have multiple causes like Ukraine support and various others. Also, you can simply just sort the documents and do that. You can see I've got environment, climate change, governance, economic, governance, business ethics. So I know straight off the bat that cause and description are linked and category can have multiple causes. So all I do is I check that one off the box. The next one is interest types. And I know interest, my primary record, which is the main record in the Excel document because it's called ESG interest main. Very simple. A customer wants me, or the company I work for wants me to register interest in a cause. Well, I can see that there's a title, which makes it unique. but also there's a date and a channel, but I have to put my interest type. So I know this is what you call a subrecord of interest. So one interest type can have many interests. Also, it looks like one cause can have many interests. So that's a one to many. So now I'm starting to build out my ERD. I can tell a contact can have many interests. So if it was Gabby, and Gabby and I were working on a project together, we might have lots of interest in climate control. So our cause would effectively be climate control, but our category would be environment. Okay, so that's very important. So one person can have multiple causes and one category, and one person can have multiple categories, one category can have multiple causes. So I start building out my ERD. And then I figured out that people need to log time, because you can also see that in your Excel document. You can see time is something that's logged over here at the very end. So I know that's another table. I'm going to show you the quickest way to push this stuff out into different layers. So watch this. Let's do people first. Let's do the contact record. Take your CSV, say file, save as, put it in a location. So I'm just going to stick it on my desktop. I'm going to say ESG contact. This is my contact record that I want. Okay. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and rip out anything that's not a contact, part of the contact. So I'm just picking all the green stuff. Sweet. Right, done. Save. Pretty straightforward, right? I'm going to go file open. I'm going to go browse and open my ESG record again. So the main document, just remember folks, don't delete your main document. Keep your main document special, right? And you can see I've actually labeled the order over here. The next one I want is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go file, save as. I'm going to go save that on my desktop. I'm just giving you a paraphrased version of this. I'm going to say categories. Categories, awesome. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and look for all the things that aren't category related in here. And I'm going to delete those columns. Cool, done, right? And then you can see I've got repeatable records. Control, the greatest tool ever made to do data quality is this thing over here. Remove duplicates, or bam. Pop your mouse at the very bottom of where you were, Control Shift up, and there you go. Categories done, right? File save. And what you'll actually end up with in the very end is something that looks a little like this. You'll end up with your list of records. So if I pop one open and I select time spent, you can see that all I've done is just remove the columns that aren't linked to time spent, okay? And that's pretty important. So all I've done is just rip the columns out, okay? Same thing with my contacts. Here's my contact list. I have had to do some data fix-uppers though. I had to split the contact name out, right? Because contact was full name. It's really easy to do if I've got really simply in Excel, if I've got those two things, it's really easy. Data, you do this thing called text to columns, or bam. All you do is you say it's delimited. You say that there's a space, next, finished, and done. There it is, split out. Boom, there's your contact record. First name, last name, right? Cool. Now, I know this is a little bit fast, but that's how I ended up. And I labeled them. Okay, now why did I label them? For this reason. What do I import first? So here's the question, right? If you have a relational database, if I try and import all my interest records and interest records need interest types, what will happen? It will fail. Why will it fail? Because I need to have my interest types in there. So I call this, what you call these is called import layers. Believe it or not, tools like SSIS do this for you. But because I've got Excel and I don't feel like writing an SSIS package, because actually I'm terrible at that now, all I do is I look at my diagram and I say, what is linked to interest types? And the only thing that's linked there is interest. So that's a level 1. What is linked to category? The only thing that's linked to category is course. So that's a level 1. What is linked to contact? Well, contact is pushing out data to those two for a one-to-many relationship. So that's a level 1. They're on the edge of the ERD. I cannot import these 3 records without these being imported. So they must be done first. The next thing is, well, what's second on the list, right? Well, cause is second because I still need to have the interest record. Interest still needs the cause record. So I have to import that second. Well, what's third? Well, time spent requires these 2. So I need to import interest. And then finally, I can import my time spent record. Believe it or not, this is literally super fast, okay? Now, here's the thing. When you're going through this process, how does it look? Like, what do you actually do when you're doing this? So bearing in mind, I wish I had two screens to show you this. I have got two, but I can't present on two. Bearing in mind, this is what you're looking at. So the first things first is you open your good old suite environment. As you can see, I cannot type. So it is called TS is a test. And obviously, we're great consultants and we build within a solution. So you're going to call it something like ESG main, select yourself as a publisher. I don't think I have any other publishers in this one, so we'll just select default like a bad Chris and create the solution. Then what do? Well, you remember that we had levels. You have contact, interest, type, and category and cause. But I can see contact as a standard Dataverse record. So all I do is add existing, go to tables, look, type in contact, because contact comes out of the box. Thank you, Microsoft. Absolute legends. Going to be a bit naughty and include everything. And there's our contact record. Well, bam, contact record done. Checkbox. Boom. What's next? Interest types and categories. Well, interest types and categories are metadata. They only have one piece of information. So very straightforward table. We're going to call it interest type. Awesome. Remember, it is metadata effectively, so it can belong to the organization. And the next thing we're going to do as well, that's kicking ass, we're going to say, cool, category is next, and then cause. It's the same process, folks. New, table, with bam, category. Awesome. Again, metadata. I don't need to have, descriptive data. I don't need to have any massive detail in there. Holy smokes, all of a sudden I've got 3 tables as part of my data model. What's next? Cause. I can see cause is linked to category. Oh my goodness, we're going to have a relationship. Sounds terrible, right? But it's not. It's really easy. So what I'm going to do is create a new table over there called cause. And we will make this again. This will be user or team owned. We don't need any fancy stuff in here. Wabam. See what I'm doing? All I'm doing is when you have an ERD, it's so easy to follow. Now, one of the things that I do to save myself time is if I know I'm going to do form design at some point, I'll build directly in the forms. I'm actually going way too fast for Dataverse. I mean, look at that. It's panicking. It hasn't even auto-magically built the forms yet. Anyway, so what you can do is you can either add the fields directly on the form or the columns at least, or do them here. Good thing is that I'm going to look up. Remember, I'm looking up to my category record. So all you do is you pop in category over there, do a lookup. Man, development's gotten so easy, hasn't it? There's my category record. Well, remember, one to many, well, bam. And that adds it directly, straight off the bat. It's building the relationship for me in the background. I don't need to do huge amounts of work, right? Now, normally, like I said, what I'll do is I'll build on the forms, but because Dataverse is being massively slow, I'll move on to the next one. It's pretty crazy, right? So what have we got next? Oh, goodness me, we've got interest. Interest looks tough, doesn't it? Well, it's not. And let me show you why, right? If I open up Excel and I go ahead and open up my interest record, what have I got in there? Well, I've got a title. Oh, I don't even need that. Sorry, I've got title, full name, which is a lookup because I'm looking to contact, cause, which is a lookup, interest type, oh goodness, it's a lookup, and channel, which is a custom field, and date, which is custom. So you see what I'm doing here? I'm just like making it easy for me to build. So in building the cause record, let's just check one more time if my form's available. There it is. Cool. I'm just going to go ahead and add that field to the form category. Whoa, see, this is what happens when you're building at a rapid pace. Try that again. Let the form load this time, Chris. Cool. Category, done deal. Save. I'm not even going to publish. That's how lazy I'm being. Sweet. So there we go. We got three tables already like rapidly built and one that we used out the box. So next thing is we're going to make interest new table. What am I doing? Table over there. Interest. Cool. This one, we're going to enable attachments and we're going to do some fun stuff. We'll turn on the quick create functionality as well. Love a good bit of quick create. We're going to audit the data on this one as well. Right. Fantastic. Go ahead and create that. Might take a little while in the background. But you see, folks, all I'm doing is every time I build something, I'm referencing my ERD. Every single time. And I've built you a data model in 3.5 minutes. Literally, this part of the data model, right? Sorry, not 3.5, I'm lying, 5.5, there we go. Cool. So this is my interest table. Again, I want to build from the form, right? Because I want to be able to build while I'm kind of on the fly, adding fields to the form. So I find that works really well for me, but because I'm in rapid development mode, I've had a bit of tea. I'll just go here, new column. Remember the first column was full name. So it's the related contacts that you're looking for. Again, you're just looking up a record, look up related table contact. Cool. Well, bam, done. Next one, right? One thing I've learned is when you have like when you have fields that are, or records that are numeric, so you have like lots of them. My favorite thing in the world, thank you, Microsoft, for making this standard. I'm just going to make that an auto number because it's also required and actually it works pretty well as a name field. I don't like deleting the name, trying to get rid of the name field. A lot of people do, but it just breaks stuff. Yeah. So all I've done is I've built my lookup to that specific record, the contact record. What's next? I've got title, I've got full name. Let's go for cause and interest type. Same process, new column, cause, lookup. There we go. We're building a cause field over there. It's just adding it, right? It's looking up to that relationship. It's looking up to that cause field. So I can have lots of causes, right? And again, interest type. Cool, same process. I'm literally not changing anything I'm doing besides making a mistake there. Lookup. Because remember, I've created those tables already. Very exciting. So while that's creating, I look again. Cool, how good am I? I'm looking at my interest type. You see, I'm constantly referring to my EOD and constantly looking at my data. Next one is channel and date. Well, we all know date's relatively easy, so we just go date. Dating is not relatively easy, just throwing it out there. And we'll go dates over there. Sweet, dates only. I'm sorry for my American friends. Date time zones in Europe are not our friends. So we have to do weird things to dates. I'm sorry, it's really brutal. And again, last one is going to be choices. So this is going to be a channel field. Pretty good. Make it a choice. Yep. What we are going to do is we are going to create a new choice. Become this channel. We'll say the choices you have are phone. Whoops. Let's try it again. Phone. Web form. Web form. Well, not web form. That won't work. Email. And finally, carrier pigeon. So you can contact me, my form, phone, web form, phone, or carrier pigeon. Cool. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to fire this up to my channel field, which I've just created, and we're bam. Right. Holy smokes. We've just literally built more than most of my data model. Go back to forms there. It's decided to get its life together. And all we go ahead and do is on the form, simply do what we do best, and that's clicky, clicky, drop, drag some fields onto a form, tell everyone that we rock at writing code. No, I'm kidding. I would never do that. Sweet. There we are. Phenomenal. Right. Last one, folks, and then I promise you I'm going to build you an app. Okay. I'm spending time on my data model. So the last one we have is what we call time spent. So again, we go and have a look at time spent. We open up our beautiful Excel file. We go and have a look at the time spent fields, and we'll notice something. There's a name, because it has to have a name, so that's a unique number. You'll have a time contribution, which is the custom field, a date, and then the interest, the related interest. Remember, we're relating this to the interest field. Clicky, clicky, drop. Yeah, I actually used that in a presentation recently. So again, straightforward, right? Tables, new table, right? Nothing rocket science. Time spent. I love the plurals. Time spent. Time spent. We're just going to remove that. Sweet. Right, this one again, we don't want to have any weird stuff. You might want to attach an expense or two so we can pop that bad boy on. We definitely want to turn on quick create and audit. Yep. Sweet. And what that does is when the auditing comes on, we can actually track and manage what's gone on with those time records. So let's just say that Stephanie logged on and tried to change the record. Well, we can see what's gone on in the background, which is pretty good, right? So while we're doing that, we're going to say time in hours. And that is going to be a numeric field or bam, decimal number. Cool. So we're happy with that. Again, referring back to our sheet. What does it look like? What are we looking at? I'm just going to get rid of the one. Right, what are we looking at? Don't save. We've just done that. Then, we got to sort out the name. So we've got a time contribution. We need a date and an interest. So we know the name is 100% going to be one of those awesome automatically generated fields because I'm too lazy to do that myself. Auto-gen number, start at 1,000, cool. The date is obviously the date the time was captured. So we'll go date and make that a date field. We don't really care about the time it was captured unless you really want to track time, like timestamps. And then finally the interest, which is again a link to the interest table, right? Now, interest, interest formats. Okay, now I'm going to tell you something that may be controversial, and my fellow data modeling friends may shout at me a bit. But while that's capturing, you can see I've got a line over there that says contact. And you can see I've got a line over there that says interest. I don't need to capture the contact because the interest is captured and the contact is on the interest, which is cool. So actually, I can just refer to that. And if I really, really want to be cheeky, if I really, really want to do something cool, right? I can actually go ahead and on my main form, on my time spent form, you can use some of the controls, but we'll put in the date over there. We'll put in the interest over there. We'll go ahead and put in the time and hours over there. We'll use a really cool little component called a quick view form, or BAM. And quick view is going to be on the interest record. And you can see you can select the main information one, done. Okay, and what will happen is that'll actually tell me the contact when I edit that form. Pretty cool, right? Not rocket science. So far, we've literally built our data model. Excellent work. We haven't even made an app yet. That's pretty exciting. Let's go back to interest. Go and take a look at that. Make sure that our forms all look good. Right, let's go and check. So this is our main form. Very exciting. You can see no weird fields over here. All of our fields have been added. And if we go to our quick view form, all I need to do is go ahead and drop the contact field on there so it's visible. Bugger. Just go and drop the contact field on there so it's visible in the interest record. Isn't data modeling exciting, friends? Where is it? There, contact, cool. Sweet. So that's my data model done, right? I've data modeled something for you that would normally take a couple of hours in SQL. We've done that. We've literally built that in a solution that can be exported and shared with your friends in literally a few minutes, okay? So we built that. Congratulations, everyone. That's pretty sick. But how do we get to it? We don't just give people a data model. No. We make them apps. Yes, we do, right? So what we're going to do is, well, we can do some fun. Well, let's make the app. So you can go ahead and say, right, this is what you're all here for, right? We're going to build an app. So first of all, I'm going to publish everything to make sure I haven't literally destroyed the world, right? So let's publish that. Takes like a minute or so. But the whole point of publishing is that actually what's going on is this is writing back to the data structures in Azure. So it's literally writing back to SQL, writing back to Cosmos, writing back to Azure Blob, making sure everything's in the right place and behaving itself, okay? Now, bear in mind, while that's happening is we had those Excel documents, did we not? Now, you can choose to use the most diabolical data import tool in the world. So I can go to contact and attempt to import data here. I recommend not doing that. It is irritating. It doesn't work very well. I'm sorry, Microsoft, but I just can't get past it, right? Believe it or not, the easiest way to import data into an app is by building an app, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make a new model-driven app. Now, a lot of you think these are boring, but in my opinion, these are the greatest things in the world, right? So let's go and try that again. New app, model-driven app, bam. What shall we call it? We are going to call this ESG Interest Management. Sweet. This is our model-driven app. Nice. So what it's going to do is it goes out, it looks at the tables we've got. That's it. Thanks, Cheryl. Model-driven. Looks at the tables we've got. Looks down and says, hey, you know what? What pages do we need? Not a problem. Well, the first thing is we need a very boring drab dashboard just as a placeholder. So we know we're going to have a dashboard in there, okay? Second thing is Cadbury Twirls are literally the 15th best thing in the world, right? Second thing we're going to do is we're going to add some tables. Now, remember, we had 6 tables. So the first one was a contact table. The second two were interest tables. The third 2 were cause. Ooh, Chris can't spell. We had cause, and then the last one was time spent, or BAM. I don't know, folks. I feel like this is a lot quicker than creating a Canvas app, just throwing it out there. We can even assign them to groups. Can you believe that? So we're going to go ahead and add a new group. We'll make this group admin. Admin over there, that's cool. And time spent is definitely not an admin. And this group over here will make do cool stuff. Do cool. Cool. So we know that the do cool stuff group is definitely going to be the most important, right? So causes are part of the do cool stuff group. Interests, yes, interests, yeah. So time spent is just, sorry, interest types is literally metadata or descriptive data. I'll always make that mistake. Causes we'll have as descriptive data. So you see all I'm doing is reordering. Cool. And I feel like I'm missing one. So all I will do is I'll go back to my list. Interest types, oh, that's probably the one. Have I got it in there or did I delete it? No, that's in there. Cool, cool, cool. Oh, it doesn't matter. I'm fine. Okay. Select save. While that it's doing its thing. Oh, you know what? I'm a bad human. I need to add one more. Okay. Add page. I would normally add a custom page, but it just takes a bit long. Category. Okay, Microsoft have got their own category field, so I just add both. It's easier for me to see which one's wrong. That's the Microsoft one. All I simply do is go down to navigation, rip that one out, boom, move this one down, and there's our entire system. Okay, great, cool. We've built an entire model app with a data model in like literally 20 minutes. Okay, going to publish that, let it do its thing. Remember, while that's publishing, why did we put these in order? Right? We put them in order so we knew what to import first, right? Oh yeah, Wallenberg, you're right. Cool. Okay, so let's play this game. Well, bam, there's a model-driven app. Holy smokes, folks. We built a model-driven app with a data model, and now we're going to do data in literally a few minutes. So what do we do first? Well, we promised ourselves we would do categories first, right? So categories, all you do is you pop in there, import from Excel, import from CSV, right? Import from CSV. Well, bam, cool. Category done. Next one. Sweet. Now remember, I did tell you that we can import some of these at the same time. Nice. So we can do categories. Next one is interest types because they don't rely on anyone either. So import from CSV, choose file, interest types, open. Next, do some mapping. Well, bam. Sorry, I know I'm going very fast, but this is how we roll in these sessions. Cool, done. We've got two of them. Next one, contacts. Contacts are a bit chunky, so I'll probably talk some rubbish to you while these import. So contacts, import from CSV, choose file once again, select your contact record, with bam. Next, we're going to review mapping. This is very, very, very important. To do some mapping, you can see that city is not mapped. So what do? We track to address city. Country is not mapped. We track to country. Email address is not mapped. We track out to email address. ABCDE, cool, cool, cool. First name, last name is done. Finish imports. Now, normally you can kick back and go and have a tequila, whatever it is you do. I like to track the progress, especially on the contacts, because there are 1,003 records. So you can see that's tracked pretty well. That's tracking at the moment. Now, because I'm going to go back to my diagram, because I've imported interest types and categories, I can also import causes at the same time. So what do? We go back to our records. We go to our causes table. We go straight from Excel, import from CSV, choose from file, causes, done. There we go. Next. No one duplicates. Yeah, cool. Okay, same thing, right? So we're going to say cause. Category is going to ask us in this weird thing that Microsoft have made here. I can never, ever figure out. Let's go and try this now. I want to select the field. Name. I'm sorry, this UX just gets on. I literally can't see it properly because my eyes get really sore. And then description is we're going to go. Whoops, I've definitely broken something. Cause, right? Did I do that right? No, I don't think I did. So what are we doing? Cause. Why is description not coming up there? That's weird. Let's try it again. Okay, wait, I'm going to go back. Sorry, folks. I think I've done something odd. I'm mildly confused as to why description has not come up. Let's try it again. Import from Excel, choose from CSV, choose file. Oh, you know what it did? Ha, I didn't add a description field. It's not a problem. We'll just skip it, like legends, because we don't need descriptions for our causes. Sorry, I had a brain melt there. It happens every now and then. So that is cause, and that is category and the weird lookup thing that Microsoft made. Name. Here we go. Cool. And then category, we're just going to blatantly ignore. Right. Did that seriously not work? So, no, not select all. Select name. Okay, click out in the weird interface. There we go. Sweet, done. Right, awesome. Now, what we normally do is we go back to our imports and we hold fingers and toes and thumbs that everything worked. 100% imported. Super good, right? Now, I don't know if any of you have ever watched one of those great British baking shows where they put a cake in and then like 1 minute later they take a cake out, right? I'm going to show you something because I'm looking at the time and I know I'm going to run out of time. So if I go back to my make.powerapps.com, okay, first things first, you can actually see that I've got a lot of information here already, right? So you can actually see if I go to my records, I've got my contacts that are imported. In my contact records, I can go ahead and track information directly in there. But actually what you're looking for is something that looks a little like this, okay? Like I said, I'm being a bit naughty. So what you do is ultimately you would log into your ES3 interest records, and I've actually plugged Power BI into this as well because I think it looks pretty cool. Excuse my design, not very pretty, but this is live direct link Power BI, okay? Tracking all of the hours. I did the exact same process that I'm going through now, okay, except yeah, just less breaking stuff. So you can see I've got my time spent. In this scenario, I actually built a couple of charts to show me the amount of time spent over time. This is all pre-built stuff, right? Now remember, because you built the data model, and I'm going to give you this model, by the way, so your homework is to take a look at the Excel documents and try and build this thing, but you can have the model to reference. It's pretty good, right? So you can actually go and check out the different times. I can go ahead and look at the various interests and say, hey, give me a breakdown more of what's going on from an interest perspective. And I can see climate change and Ukraine supports at the top in my causes. Where if I move down, interest by channel, interest by date, and the good thing is I've got the data, right? The data is there, so I can literally build anything on top of this model, which brings me to my next point. If I can make a model-driven app as fast as I can, right? And you've seen what I've been doing, okay? Here's something interesting. Model-driven apps are really cool, and we love them to pieces. But I'm going to go ahead and look at my solutions and think, you know what, folks? That's my management tool. I manage that stuff. Like I manage the interests through a process. But actually, what about making a Canvas app for all of you to use, right? What about giving you all an app that you can use, okay? So because I've got the data model, it's really easy for me to kind of build up an app. So what I would do is create a new app, Canvas app. I'm going to choose to go for, I don't know, let's go call it register or ESG interest. Cool. So register your interest in environment, social governance, and that'll obviously do what Canvas apps do best and build out a very, very straightforward little shell that I can use. But again, I'll only expose this to various people, like basic people in the business. Same sort of thing, right? So go ahead, add an image from file. Let's go grab my 0 to hero one. By the way, I love this image. I don't know why. I think it's the Victor picture. The Victor picture, right? And there we go, right? So very straightforward. I'm going to go ahead and create a new screen, create a duplicate screen. Screen number 2 is going to be called nav. Let's call it screen nav. Welcome screen. Cool. We'll put in a sick button over here. Insert button. Cool. Or bam. And we'll make it blue. We'll stick with blue for the theme. I'll agree. Victor's hairstyle is beautiful. Navigate. And all we will do is we'll just say navigate. Bam. We'll go CRN screen. Ooh, am I not spinning correctly? Screen nav, comma fade. Sweet. Done. Cool. And in here, all we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to go and add some data. So I'm going to go ahead and say, see all tables. And what do I want? What do I want? I want to have interests. Lovely. So I can go ahead and add my interest record. And what we will do from there is we'll go to form, make an edit form. Very, very sexy looking edit form over there. Interests. Okay. And we will edit fields and say add fields, and you just go and chuck them in, right? So cause, channel, date, full name, whatever you want. Interest type, blah, 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 blah. Sweet. I'm just adding random stuff now, just so that you are aware. Now, who remembers the days in Canvas apps where you couldn't do this? So you had to add every possible connection reference you could think of to get related data. Okay. Do that for me in SharePoint, my friends. Anywho, that's all done. So I'm going to go ahead and just do some columny stuff, make it look pretty. Let's give it a little bit of a background. I'm going to make that, make it blue. No, that's a terrible idea, Chris. Make it baby blue. There we go. Please don't judge my design skills. It's mostly because I have no taste. Cool. And you can go ahead and have them register interest. So kind of do whatever you want with the form. I like how it's all, no, that's terrible. Lewis is on the call and I'm nervous now because he's so good at designing stuff. Anywho, go and scrap the fields that you don't need. So we don't need that, and we don't need, get away, we don't need that. Sweet, sounds all good. Right. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just steal a button, bam, chuck the button onto the form, bam, right. And that's going to be a classic submit form and FORM form 1. Naming conventions gone out the window purely because I'm done, right? Sweet. So you can see I've got lots of data already stored in there. All I need to do is go and run my gorgeous looking app, navigate back there. Should have gone new form instead of edit form, or what's a chop? Right, run form, cool. So the cause, right? So you've got a lot of causes you can select from. Super, super easy, okay? Health and safety. The channel is going to be web form. Oh, no, it's get invented. Carrier pigeon, right? The date is in the world's weirdest date picker today. My full name. Now, here's the thing. I'm using the contact data structure inside Dataverse. You wouldn't do that normally. You would use the user table, and then you would hide the field and would automatically pick the user for you. But I'm just going to pick a random person. And interest type is active involvements. Kapow, save. And if I go back and look at my gorgeous data structure, hopefully I'm in the right environment. And if I go to interests, environment, let's close that and make sure we're in the right place. If I go there and I go to interests over there and I go to create it on and say new it's older, it'll eventually land up in there. Well, bam, done deal, right? And you can just start building app upon app upon app upon app on top of that data structure. So you basically microserviced your data. And I could go ahead and just build another one. But the good thing is basically this data, because of the highly relational nature of the data, I can secure it. I can make selecting the form and building the form really easy without writing shed loads of power effects, right? And that's the good thing about using Dataverse as a structure, especially because of the highly relational nature of it, okay? And it's really good to kind of see also the associations as well. So as we kind of move through the process, and I've got a full name and just going to look at this contact, really simply in the model-driven app, I can see all of their interests. Okay, so that type of structure, this is highly referential, highly secure, highly robust. And you can see building a Power App on top of Dataverse, especially in Canvas, is much easier because I don't have to worry about all those weird connections to like option sets and that type of thing. Okay, so that's what I found. I've done it very quickly. I'm sorry, but I hope you had fun and think maybe turn Stephanie mode on in the app settings. I hope it all makes sense, right? But just remember, all I've done is I started from a simple Excel document, and I'll open it up, something that looks a little like this, and I was able to derive a full-on data structure just from that Excel document that gave me that. That's given me the ability to microservice my data. The entire solution actually looks like this, yeah, except for the compliance piece. That should have just said Power BI, but I stuck the Power BI together literally 5 minutes before I got on the phone to you, okay? But again, it's the microservicing of the data. I'm building stuff on top of data. So I know we're speaking about building apps on top of data, but it doesn't matter what you build. You've got the data. So you could build whatever you wanted, right? But the data is the most important thing. So yes, I know I didn't spend time on the data on the call, but I knew what I was building because I've done the planning in my head. I knew what the Excel document looked like. Let me tell you, in the real world, reviewing that Excel document will take you more than half the time of the actual project. Okay, building the app, I've shown you, building the app is not hard. Okay, in my opinion, actually, building the app to me is probably the fun part. It's like the part that gives me the ease. Once the data's in, I know I can make anything on top of that data. And let me tell you, the better the model, the better the solution you'll get out of it. Okay, I've always found like if I build a shoddy data model, my solutions are terrible. Like my apps don't work very well. I can't rely on my data, but I can categorically tell you with this data model here, looking just at the way it's structured, 6 simple entities, okay, but being able to track the very fact that I've got this highly relational data, I can track all interests with a lot of ease. I can even track the timesheets right over there. Very, very simple for me. It did not take me a lot of work to do that, all just from a flat Excel document. And I showed you the document, yeah? So for me, I'm just giving you an opinion. Dataverse is way easier for me to build on than on SharePoint because I spend less time worrying about data because once I know it's robust, I'm happy. And I have a second summary slide. Yeah, I know it's weird, but I'm doing it. I'm bringing back the second, I'm creating the second summary thing, right? It's super easy to build multiple apps in your data sources once they have been created successfully. Good data equals good app equals good report. I've said it loads of times. I've microserviced my data. Okay. I've turned my data into a tool. So building model-driven apps on top of Dataverse are great for process-driven experiences. I was going to make you a process flow and then I decided against it because of time. And Canvas apps are great from a UX perspective because you can do whatever you want. And people like Geetha and Christine will show you that and definitely say, look, Canvas are great because you can literally design the way the user uses them. Okay. But for me, model driven for process, Canvas for kind of look and feel and great user experience. But most important, if I've got data, it's much, much easier for me to build, right? And oh no, I've left on the old slide. I'll update this slide. Gulshan's gonna shame me. But yeah, I don't know why. I think I updated in the other deck. Anyway, there are actual other learning paths you can go on about like how to build on top of data. So thank you everyone for being part of the world's fastest app build. I hope that made sense. I know it was a lot, and I'm gonna need a hug. But yeah, thank you very much, everyone. I really appreciate it. Sure.
No, this is fantastic. I think, Chris, the approach of building the data, I think folks will understand the value when they start to dive into different projects. I find that building the app itself is like a way for us to get into a new project, or in my case, since I have a small business, getting to a company and starting that digital transformation journey. But once they see the value of having a central data repository, in this case, Dataverse, then everything else turns in terms of attention. People starts most of my customers start because they want to automate data entry, right?
Yeah,
So we show an app, get it done quickly. They are impressed, but then when you show that the data is now available at a central location, can be consumed to build dashboards or even to integrate to different processes, then it's like a mind blown
yeah.
experience. So yeah, no, this lesson though, I don't think we're gonna post it on YouTube because it's worth a lot more than what we're selling this for. We'll
Oh,
keep it a secret. No,
yeah.
just kidding. No, this is pretty good. Um, if you want though, you can review this lesson. It's going to be on the YouTube channel. Last week I posted another one that's called the database design. So the exercise that Chris did with Excel, showing what data is repeated, it's like hands-on experience based on theory. If you want to see some theory, you can look at the other lessons to see, the basic rules of data modeling, basic rules of data normalization for that matter. But this is a lot more exciting than my boring lesson, but it's there. We just go into details about data types in Dataverse there as well. The advantage of using a data type versus the other. So if you have more time, you can review that one as well. But yeah, Chris, wow, thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you, everyone. I
It's
appreciate it.
people think I sound cheesy when I do this, but there are a few folks that you reach out in the community and then you say, hey, this is what's going on. We want to empower people that wouldn't otherwise have the means to attend a class like this. And Chris is one of a few that
Oh,
I don't even explain a whole lot about what the lessons entail, what the program entails, and he's like, yeah, count me in. So I do appreciate you, Chris. You are the real deal. Thank you so much for being here.
thank
It's
you, man.
much appreciated.
I appreciate all of you coming along. Honestly, I've got to tell you, I messaged Victor probably a couple of hours before, and I'm like, dude, I'm gonna get a little bit nerdy. I hope that's cool. And I was worried because the last time I did this, I think I built probably about something about a tenth of the complexity, and it was good fun. And I remembered how much fun it was. So like, thank you everyone for putting up with that. I know it was bonkers. So yeah, I appreciate it. I had fun.
All right. All right. So next week we have Gita. She has a lesson, I think, building what is it called? An Appalicious thing. So it's a fun title. So I think she's gonna show quite a bit of UI. She's got a lot of experience in back-end processing as well.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be good to see app building from another angle. But again, Chris, thank you so much. Thanks everyone for being here, and we'll see you next week on Tuesday. All right, take care. Have a
Thank you,
great
everyone. So good to see you.
Friday and weekend.
See you
Thank
soon.
you.
Thanks
Thank,
again.
thanks,
Thank you.
Chris.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.